recording. Yeah. Oops. Good morning, everybody. I'm seeing people starting to come in to our, well, I don't know what you call it. Let's call it, they've moved from the waiting room, Kathleen, to now into our live event. So welcome. Dana, Oliver, good day. Bryce, Andrew, g'day. And Kathleen, one of the cool things about the world that we now live in, people don't even need to show up for this. They just send their note taker. So we've
I've
got
had many a
Chris's note
conversation with
taker
note
here. So
taker.
Chris actually isn't here, but he'll get this on recording. So Chris, give us 10 burpees because you're not here, but your note taker is. Dave Tonia, good day. How are you, sir? Good to see you here. Hope you're well. Hope Beam's doing fantastic. So we're going to kick off in about 1 minute. If you would like to, feel free to put into the comments, into the chat, where you're from, what you do, what your club name is, what your studio name is, your contact details if you like. If you want to connect with anybody else that's on the webinar today, you will get a recording of this sent to you, so don't panic. We already have your email address and we know where you live, Dana, so we can get whatever we need to directly to you. So we will wait un momento. Super excited. This is our third online event. We have another online event next week. Oh, there's another. Bryce's note taker is in as well as him. So no burpees needed for you, Bryce. You're in the room as well as your note taker. So we have our this is our third, and we have our fourth webinar next week, which is all about gamification in your clubs and your studios in order to drive retention, where we define retention as staying longer. Frank Smarali is going to be delivering that, so we're super excited for that. I'll give you some more details at the end of this webinar. All right, well, let's kick it off. As I was just explaining to Kathleen before we went live, webinars are dead. They are buried. They are gone. They are so COVID related. Now we move to free online events. Yes, it's all in the way we describe what we do. It's part of our branding. It's part of our storytelling, which links us beautifully to our speaker today. Kathleen Ferguson, coming to us live from Arizona. She is not really from Arizona. She's a local California lady, and I hope she tells us what some of her pastimes are in her introduction. But please go easy on Kathleen. For those that are unaware, and in fact, I think everybody is unaware, Kathleen has never done a webinar before. This is her first. So should she press the wrong buttons, please don't get angry at her. If she sort of stalls and bumbles around a bit like I am at the moment, don't get angry at her. It's her first one. So we are so pleased, Kathleen, to take your webinar cherry today on the Fitness Business Podcast's live events. Now, I would love to introduce you, Kathleen, but I will butcher all the incredible things you have done in the industry. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but should you miss anything out, I shall tell everybody what you did when you were at college.
Oh, uh-oh.
So over to you, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, JT. Just so excited to be here to talk about one of my favorite topics, staffing. For those I haven't met yet, I'm Kathleen Ferguson. I'm the CEO and founder of Coach 360. This is an organization that is a media platform for the health and fitness professional community, and also a staffing platform that's unique to the fitness industry. So I create a digital community. I have newsletters, and I also connect to this community to about 1,500 club and studio locations across the United States. While Coach 360 is relatively new, I am not new to the industry. I have been in the industry for about 17 years, and I've worn many different hats. I started my career on the gym floor. I became certified, got into the industry with just a ton of fire and passion. I really wanted to help others, and I really wanted to be a part of their health and wellness journey. But quickly came to figure out that, like so many other fitness professionals, if you've ever been a personal trainer or an instructor, you know what I'm talking about. It's extremely difficult to build a career in the industry that is sustainable financially and also where you can make an impact. You get certified, right? And, you get into the industry and figure out quickly that really isn't a guide. There's not a guide to help you kind of map out what that path and that evolution of your career is going to look like. How do you get from point A to point B? So that's really kind of the challenge that I saw. I saw this void in the industry in early 2024 to kind of come in and be that guide as Coach 360, and knowing that the other big problem in our industry that we're seeing in the United States and really globally, because this problem transcends borders, is that clubs and studios, and if any of you guys out there are club and studio owners and operators, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is nearly impossible to keep health and fitness professionals on staff. The turnover rate is astronomical. So Coach 360 has really come in to really be, this platform to help support individuals in that journey and connect them to jobs. So ended up, really cutting my teeth in the industry after, being a personal trainer. Kept being a personal trainer, but got into the media side of things when I started my career at Idea Health and Fitness, led the sales team there, absolutely love our industry and getting to know people, going to shows, and, really trying to figure out what their pain points were in terms of how they can reach, a particular avatar within our industry, whether they wanted to look to reach fitness professionals or clubs and studios. I helped them to do that at Idea. COVID hit, ended up going off on my own and starting my own consulting business. And, then I took that leap to become an entrepreneur in early 2024 with Coach 360. So, just thrilled to be here and thrilled to be talking about something that's so near and dear to my heart. And, let's talk about a little bit why this topic matters right now. The staffing issue is not new, right? I think a lot of people talk about how staffing and the turnover rate really became an issue during COVID. But the truth is that staffing has actually been an issue for decades. And finding the right staff or the right employee or the right fitness professional for your organization, this is an age-old problem that people have been trying to solve for decades now. And right now it's just increasingly prevalent because the coach churn rate is so astronomical. We can't keep coaches in the industry. They're becoming disenchanted. And we'll talk a little bit about why here. So my hope is, a couple things that you'll walk away with, right? Number one, proven methods to recruit and retain top talent in today's competitive market. It is competitive. If you're an owner and operator, you know that now as a club and studio, you kind of have to sell yourself and differentiate to get the best staff, right? So it's competitive. I want you to walk away with ways to invest in staff development that boosts loyalty and performance, because you do need to invest in staff development and performance. And if you're not doing that, we'll talk about why that's important. Also, keys to building a purpose-driven culture that attracts the right people. People work for those who they align with the same purpose. So if you're mission-driven, share that mission, you'll bring in the right people. Lastly, how to identify and empower leaders who elevate your entire club. Many of you guys probably will hire from within, and that's wonderful. You want to be able to show your staff and your fitness professionals upward mobility opportunities and, potentially help them to design what their path could look like. All right, now we're going to talk about the dirty little secret, right? There is a dirty little secret right now, and that is that there is 100% staff turnover. This is a number that we have gleaned from our own data and research. This is a number that most clubs and studios will not tell you. Nobody wants consumers, clients, members to know that they have a staff turnover problem. We all know that our instructors and our personal trainers are the rock stars of our organizations. So it's problematic to have your rock stars leaving, because what happens when your rock stars leave, right? Then your clientele and your member base can potentially leave. So it's really important to keep them around. So that is the dirty little secret. The other piece of this that contributes to this 100% on average staff turnover rate is 80% coach churn. This number is pulled from data from many of the certification organizations. Coaches, 80% of coaches abandon the industry altogether within 2 years' time. Lack of coaches equals lack of staff. So we have millions of jobs across, I'm speaking from the United States perspective, but again, I know that this transcends borders. I know many of us are tuning in from different countries, but millions of jobs in the United States and about 473,000 certified fitness professionals. So you can do the math there and see that there's quite the delta there in terms of available staff. So the talent challenge. So we touched on this a little bit. The talent landscape in the fitness industry is increasingly challenging. High turnover rates across clubs and studios, that makes our job market extremely competitive. We also combine this with shifting employee expectations. More and more employees are looking for company culture, right? What we know and what we hear, at least at Coach 360 and many of the industry events that I attend, is that coaches and instructors take a job for the pay and the convenience. So maybe it's close to their house, and maybe it's just the right pay. However, coaches and instructors and fitness professionals stay with a job because of the company culture, which starts at the top. So how are we differentiating? How are we telling our story as an organization to attract and retain talent that align with the company culture that we put out there? Because ultimately, if you have the right company culture, you're going to attract the right talent, and that's going to increase your retention rate there. One stat that I wanted to share with you is that 70% of the employees say that their sense of purpose is defined by their work, which is not surprising. That comes from McKinsey & Co. That's not a surprising stat because we spend so much of our lives at work. And now, we are mobile. We can work anywhere. So we're constantly on our phones and our social medias. We're constantly working. So many employees now, they want to have a role within an organization that, they want to feel a sense of purpose. Wanted to dive into a bit about the financial burden here. So I'm going to drop some numbers on you that may or may not be surprising. The average cost of acquisition, development, and retention per employee is about $3,000. So if you look at like a mid to a big box gym, you're looking at, about an average staff count of 28 on staff. If you are having to replace 100% of your staff every single year, that annual cost for that club location could be, anywhere close to $84,000 per year. Now, we got a bigger problem if you have multiple locations, right? So let's say you have 12 locations, you could actually have $1 million problem with your staffing. So as you can see, the financial burden here is significant. And that's why now more than ever, it's very, very important to make sure that you're telling your story, putting it out there through the right channels, and making sure that you're attracting the right talent. So let's dive into solutions. So I am big on storytelling. JT knows this. We just talked about this a bit at our last Rex meeting, but I think now more than ever, content's extremely important. We are turning to social media. I say we are, I'm a lot older, so I don't use Instagram or TikTok as much as, some of these younger fitness professionals that are coming into the industry, but they are coming in, they want to see the story, they want to read about the story. So, again, people say this all the time, but content is king. You want to communicate your club's purpose and values. And again, we touched on that a little while ago and why that's important, because people want to align their purpose more with their work, the work that they're doing professionally. So it's, extending outside their personal life, right? And, what is that harmonious blend that they're going to get? As a club and studio, you share authentic stories that bring your mission to life. People want to work for companies and organizations that are mission driven. What is your mission and how are you articulating that to differentiate yourself from other clubs and studios? Make sure you showcase your team culture and what it's like to work there. There's some organizations that do this really, really well. I'm going to just throw out a name like Luke Milton with Training Mate showcases constantly what that team culture is like and what it's like to work there. And, as a fitness professional, I can see why so many people would be attracted to that culture of community and togetherness and, just, having kind of this extended family outside of your personal life. So, what does that look like? It looks a little bit different from everyone. I mean, Training Mate's going to look different from Metabolic, which will look different from Burn Boot Camp. So I think that, a lot of these brands do a really great job of showcasing what that team culture is and what it really is like to work there. Content. How are you using content to bridge the gap between your brand and potential talent? Whether it's, social media content again, and whether you're using TikTok, Instagram, whether you're looking to reach a different type. I mean, you really should be using every platform. I think LinkedIn is great as well. However, I know that like a lot of coaches are not going to be necessarily super active on LinkedIn. Some of them will. How are you articulating your brand's story through additional media, newsletters? Maybe you start your own blog. It's very, very important to, make sure that you're leveraging content there to tell that story. Once you do that, you're going to attract the right people who are aligned with your why and your mission. And ultimately, of course, this is going to decrease turnover, and it's going to help you to attract the right staff, personal trainers, and instructors into your organization. So I always say recruit smarter, not louder. You want to lead with purpose. Tell your story. Your story is more than a job post as a club and studio, right? So share your club's purpose and values, and you will attract the right talent that's aligned with your mission. You want to showcase your team culture and values. Highlight those unique aspects of your team culture and what it means to be a part of that organization through your content. Tap into your community. Leverage your existing coach and member networks to source referrals and showcase employee testimonials. I can't even tell you how many times I hear about how these community referrals, how powerful they are in terms of bringing in talent and, also positioning the existing talent that is, being that source of the referral into a leadership role. Create compelling content. Develop that content again that showcases your organization's vibe. Like, what is your vibe? Are you serious? Are you a serious fitness organization? Are you fun? Are you silly? What is that vibe that you want to attract? And, that's an important part of it. I mean, you look in like, right now, AI is huge. We all know whether you're leveraging, the power of AI or not, you're probably leveraging it in some part of your business. But, now we're able to, kind of leverage AI to, kind of glean information about people's personalities on social media. So, tap into that and, really, lean into, what is your organization's vibe? Develop talent that stays, right? So individual growth plans. Now, this is extremely important because everyone's path looks incredibly different. We provide upward mobility paths in other industries, but what I haven't seen as much is in the fitness industry. It seems like you just get into the fitness industry as a personal trainer and you're just told, okay, go ahead and start selling personal training programs. Just get on the gym floor and go. But what is not typically provided, but where you see in other industries is that path to growth and development. So if you as an organization can sit down with your incoming talent and say, hey, where do you want to be in 5 years? What does that look like? You're showing that you're invested in their growth and development as an individual, as a fitness professional. And I think that that's a really powerful way to, showcase that you intend for them to stay. And that is a really powerful for you as an organization, a facility owner and operator, to retain your top talent within your facilities. Secondly, visible mentorship programs. So take your top talent, take the people who are excelling in what they're doing and absolutely crushing it within your organization and set them up with these newbies that are incoming and, basically have them provide a how I built it style, lunch and learn where they can come in and say, hey guys, this is where I started. This is where, here's my mid-career and here's where I am now as, a regional director, or I'm in an executive position, or I'm in a C-suite position, or now I work for that brand at a corporate level. Everyone's path looks different. So, to have mentors come in and showcase these different elements of how they got there is a really powerful tool. Frequent feedback and recognition. I think we all like validation, right? I think that's human nature. So how are we providing that validation in the form of feedback and positive recognition, right? So feedback, whether it comes from clients, members within the facilities, but most of all, feedback, from leadership, I think is extremely important. So how are you providing your staff, your coaches and your talent with feedback, and how are you recognizing their achievements when they're crushing their goals or they're hitting specific milestones? I think that, feedback and recognition is something that is oftentimes, ignored. And it's not something that people, deem as important. We're just expected to do our job. But when you're helping to mold a career and helping someone to develop what that looks like, the feedback and recognition is only going to help their growth, and it's going to make them a more valuable asset within your organization. And ultimately, again, this goes back to retention. It's going to help you retain that top talent. This last one is big, tailored learning opportunities. This goes back to, again, investing in your people. I'm going to say this a million times, and it's probably going to get annoying, but your people are your biggest assets. You want to make sure that you're investing in their growth and development. What does that look like? Well, from an organization, from a club and studio perspective, it's providing, continuing education, providing leadership training, providing, various different niche training. So, maybe you have new equipment coming in. Train your people on how to use it with your customers. Ultimately, that's just going to increase your customer and your client loyalty, right? And your client retention, but train them on everything. And if somebody wants to step into a leadership role, make sure they have the leadership training to do that, because if they're with your organization for a specific amount of time, that means that they're your passionate brand advocate. No one's going to tell your story better than the people who love you and are passionate about what you're doing and what you're building.
Kathleen, I've got a couple of
Yes,
questions for you from our
sure.
esteemed attendees. So the first question, and you talked about Luke, I think from FitMate,
Training mate.
Training Mate.
Training mate.
But can you give this question comes from Peter. Can you give an example of how a club or studio actually has used storytelling to attract the right talent? Not just talent, but I guess he wants to know if storytelling gets me the right person.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard data point to provide, but what I have seen in my experience is that those that tell their story across various different platforms, and the platforms of the right platforms. So not every platform is going to be right. So if you're looking to, attract Gen Z talent to, be your staff, you're probably not going to source it on LinkedIn. You're probably going to source it on Instagram or TikTok. So what I have seen with storytelling is that if you just post a stagnant job, Peter, it doesn't articulate your brand message. So I say this a lot. Your story is more than a job post. If I just see, hiring now, an X, Y, and Z gym, the pay is, $65 an hour or whatever. To me, it's like, great. Again, the pay is, what I'm looking for, the location's nearby. Am I going to stay there though? I don't know, because I have no idea whether or not we share in the same mission. Fitness professionals and instructors are extremely mission driven. We certainly don't get into this for the money, right? If we were in this for the money, we'd go into finance, we'd become a lawyer, whatever. There's other ways to make money. We get into this industry, and I say we because of course I started as a fitness professional. We get into this industry because we're passionate. We come here because we want to help people live healthier lives. So ultimately, we need to align with mission, and storytelling is the only way for you as an organization to articulate that mission, because your job post is just not going to tell that story properly. Hopefully that answers your question. I don't really have any solid data points on that, but I do see that, those that are posting, through storytelling and then pushing people back into their jobs that way, I see them being more successful in, happy when they are making that hire.
Peter says, thank you. Question from Amy. I'm just a small fitness studio. Do I have a story to tell?
Absolutely. Everybody's got a story to tell. Wait, JT, was that the end of the question? I just want to make sure before I jump in.
No, that was the end of the question. I think, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm reading between the lines here that you think just because you're a small studio with X number of clients in a small part of wherever you live, that you don't actually have a story. But Kathleen's saying you do.
I believe that we all have a story. We've all, we all got into this industry for a specific reason. I always share with people, like, I got into this industry like to channel personal pain into purpose. And I think that was a part of my story and how I evolved in my career from a fitness professional. But I think we all have something like that. We all have a reason that we're in this industry. And I'd be really curious, Amy, to hear what your reason is and like why you got into this industry. That's your story. It's your why. It's not how many clubs and studios or, locations that you have. It's truly comes back to your why. We want to hear, as staff or potential employees, we want to hear your mission. We want to hear why you're in this industry, and what brought you into this industry, and any challenges or obstacles that you've overcome, because ultimately these personalized stories and the personalization is what resonates with your audience and what draws people in, because that's how we connect. Oh, hello? JT, I'm not sure if you dropped off, but I am going to pause here until, oh, there you are. I wasn't sure if it dropped.
No, that was just me. I
Oh,
have these. I'm below my desk right now, Kathleen. I'm pedaling really fast to keep the internet going.
I just wanted to, I just wanted to make sure before I continued with the presentation that I answered Amy's question.
Yeah, you did. Yep. I think yes, Amy's giving me the thumbs up.
Perfect. Anything else before I continue?
Away you go at the moment.
All right. So how do we build that purpose-driven culture that we've talked so much about already? Number one, and this is like, you could look at this as a way to do your storytelling, right? So you could break up storytelling into these segments, and each of these could be a different story. Number one, define your club's purpose. I think that this is like this is the foundation of everything, right? So clearly articulate your organization's purpose and values, communicate that vision, to attract the talent that aligns with your mission. Number two, align your operations with values. Ensure that your day-to-day operations, policies, decision makings reflect the values that you've established. Really walk that talk. I say that a lot. Walk the talk to build that trust and authenticity. Invite the team into the mission. I think this is where you can go, just have a lot of fun with the storytelling, right? So, showcase a day in the life. Like, what do you guys do when you get together? Are there community gatherings? Shoot as much content as you can. Take tons of pictures, take video content, and use that to show how your team comes together and you guys are aligned into the same mission. Actively engage your staff in the overarching purpose of the organization. Empower them to contribute to the mission and feel invested in the club or studio success. The last thing that I want to touch on here, for building a purpose-driven culture and kind of leveraging these different pieces and segments to foster internal brand buy-in. So use that storytelling that we're talking about to showcase how the club or studio's purpose and values come to life. Again, a great opportunity to leverage content, whether it's video, static photo, or written content, to really bring that story to life, bring those values to life, to foster that internal brand buy-in. Inspire your team. And I said this before, I'm going to say it again, inspire your team to be those brand ambassadors, because they are the champions of your company culture. So let's touch on empowering your emerging leaders, right? So I talked about this a little bit earlier, about how you can use your existing staff to really help them to design a path to their career and help to up-level them, because ultimately they could be your future leaders within your organization, right? So when it comes to the most valuable resource in your facilities operations, again, it's people. People are your greatest asset. So we have to help them to up-level. So whether you're investing in that growth and development through, providing them with, the educational resources, this really goes back to what we talked about before in terms of giving those emerging leaders within your organization the opportunity to create a career path within your organization. So it doesn't have to just be a career path. It's a career path within your organization, ensuring that you're going to aid in their retention within your organization. If they see, I'm starting as a personal trainer, but I'm going to, potentially, like, my goal is to be a regional manager, and here's the steps that I need to get there. And you as an organization lay that out for me as a trainer, I'm going to stay. because I see the path to earning more money. I see the path to success in my career. So ultimately, again, your people are your greatest asset. And you want to continue that leadership training and community building events to really continue to show them that path. So let's talk about the action plan. So one of the things that I talk to a lot of the clubs and studios about is a lot of people don't understand, like, what is the plan to do this, right? This all sounds great, but what is the plan to do that? So I always recommend audit your current talent experience. So what does that mean? So examine your existing hiring processes. How are you doing it? What are you doing to develop these people? And what types of retention practices are you using to identify strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities for improvement? You really want to take some time to analyze, like, what are your turnover rates? Are you replacing your entire staff every single year? Then we have, there's some things then you'd have to take a look at, right? Employee satisfaction. Are you sending out satisfaction surveys to understand, are your employees happy here within my organization? Or are they looking elsewhere? And what's the alignment with your club's values and purpose? So, are these people that you're bringing in, are they aligned with that mission? It's important. That's going to ensure that they stay. Second piece, choose one story to tell this month, right? Identify a compelling story from your club or team that showcases your purpose, culture, and growth of your people. So a lot of times I tell people, and I do this actually on Coach 360 on my platform, do a coach spotlight, spotlight a coach that's doing something great within your organization and how they're contributing to that company culture, right? It could be someone that's just starting out. And again, they're just absolutely crushing their goals, or someone that, helped another person within that organization become more successful, or someone that's up leveling and, transitioning to leadership. So choose a story and tell that story and make sure that it aligns with that purpose or culture. Third, identify one team member to mentor or elevate. So let's think about, who on your team is a rising star, and recognize that emerging leader on your team and invest in their development. Offer them a mentorship opportunity. If you see someone that's a diamond in the rough and that you want to bring up because they have the intangibles, that emotional intelligence that you can't train or teach, take them and make sure that you are mentoring them and showing them that path so that they'll ultimately stay within your organization, because you are showing them the way to, again, having the successful, sustainable career in our industry. And lastly, invest in one growth initiative this quarter. So what does that look like? Commit to implementing a new talent development program. That's one idea. So what is the process and what is the experience ultimately for the new talent that are coming into your organization? Do they come in and, like me, have no clue, what they're doing, and they've just been dropped on the gym floor and told to sell? Or do you have someone come in that, has been there 6 months, take their hand and guide them and say, hey, why don't you shadow me for 2 weeks so that you can see how I initiate new sales with my customers on the gym floor. So invest in one growth initiative this quarter and really take a look at that and how you're doing, how you are helping these newbies that are coming in. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about recruiting and staffing resources. So number one, just start with the right sourcing channels. Industry-specific platforms, like Coach 360, Fit Bodies, Talent Hack, are more targeted than general job boards. So you're going to want to, make sure that you're picking a platform that's niche to the fitness industry. That way, you're essentially getting someone that is a certified professional and is actually looking for a job that they are qualified for. A lot of times, like, people say, see a post on, another platform that's not niche to our industry, and they'll say, hey, you know what? I love yoga. I'm going to apply for this job. Turns out they've just taken yoga classes. They're enthusiasts. They don't actually have the certifications and the qualifications needed to be a yoga instructor. So definitely, stick to those industry-specific platforms. You want to also partner with training and certification organizations that are accredited. Many of them have job boards or graduate pipelines. Local fitness schools and kinesiology programs are often untapped gold mines for emerging talent. A lot of these people are coming out of school with degrees and they're looking for jobs. Use referral programs. Your best staff likely know other professionals, and I think that the referral is a really great way to bring like-minded individuals into the organization. Second, market the role like a product. You're going to sell the why. So we talked about this a little bit. The why is very, very important. It's more important than the number of locations, and it is, what's going to attract the right people to you. So sell the why, not just the what. Share your values, growth opportunities, and workplace culture, and do that through content. Highlight your career pathways. That's going to be attractive as a fitness professional. I would want to see that. Education stipends. What are you contributing to their education? The continuing education credits they need to re-up, and also how are you using the education to help them develop. Mentorship programs. These matter to serious professionals. We talked about this a lot. Pair them up with somebody that's crushing it in your organization, and make sure that that person's mentoring the newbies. Showcase real employee stories on your website and social channels to attract people who align with your mission. You can use content to tell the story. You can actually do this. We have a video component on Marketplace by Coach 360 where you can talk about, instead of just the job post, you can say, hey, I'm Kathleen. Here's the top 3 reasons I want to work, or I've stayed with my job at Planet Fitness for 10 years. They invest in your growth and development. So use that kind of video content opportunity to, really have your staff sell it for you and tell your story. Invest in internal development. We talked about this a lot. Create clear career paths to, really showcase these long-term opportunities. Offer upskilling through ongoing education, workshops, and certification. Build a strong onboarding experience. Everyone says this. The first 90 days are pivotal to the success of a fitness professional. So extremely important to, really make sure that they are strong coming out of the gate there. And then lastly, we talked about this, Coach 360's Marketplace. It's going to be a great resource for you. If you're looking for professionals, we got about 30,000 in our community. Oh, and guys, it looks like perhaps my screen froze up. JT, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Sorry, guys, I'm getting a frozen screen here.
Just hit escape.
One sec. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Thank you, tech support. All right, so just to wrap up here, I'm going to say it again, tell the right story and the right people will show up. So again, leverage your content, leverage your story, your why, you'll attract the right people that way. And ultimately they'll stay with you longer because they'll be invested in your company's mission. And thank you everyone for listening. I'm not an expert in staffing, but again, I've worn multiple different hats in the industry and I've seen a lot, I've talked to a lot of people. So I hope that you guys found some value there. And the bottom line here is that clubs and studios that build a reputation for developing talent, not just hiring it, they're going to win the staffing game long term. So, open to, anyone's thoughts or additional questions that you might have.
Yes, there it is, Kathleen. That was tremendous. Some real insights there. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Couple of questions. First one, how much detail? This comes from Peter, and Peter doesn't tell me where he's from. Maybe it's the same Peter, maybe. He says, how much detail should I put in my job ads about I'm assuming about the job?
When it comes to job ads, it's not really a great place to tell your story. I think, if that is the only place that you can tell your story, if you're not active on social media, or you're not leveraging additional media, or you don't have a blog, I think maybe in that job ad, you want to lead with maybe a quick 1 to 2 sentence mission statement, because that's going to catch people's eye. The most important detail, though, I have to tell you in a job ad, if we're talking about a job ad, not a story or a piece of content, is the pay. So the coaches and instructors and fitness professionals are constantly complaining about the fact that a lot of people are not putting a pay range into job ads. So, for me, I would say lead with your mission statement, make it short and snappy, and make it your purpose to see if that aligns them, because that will either attract or maybe that won't resonate with them. Make sure you're putting the pay in there, and make sure you're putting the benefits in, because again, it's a competitive job market right now, and you are competing for coach and talent. So, you really need to kind of sell the opportunity, right? And how are you different than some of these others? Is it that you guys do lunch and learns? Is it that you guys do company retreats? What is it that makes you different and special?
Great. That's awesome. Good answer. Um, this question comes from all the way from Australia, actually, and it comes from Justin.
All right.
In other words, that's me. Um, what we like to do on the Fitness Business Podcast, Kathleen, is really give some, I guess, turning some thoughts that you've shared into actions. So, what's
Sure.
one small shift that people watching today can make straight away that could improve how they connect with potential team members? Not so much the current team members, but what could they do to improve how they connect with potential team members?
Yeah, so I would say, and again, I would say this goes back to storytelling. Take a look at, how you're articulating your story, whether it's on social media or, other like blog content. If you don't have a blog, start one. Start one so that you can tell your story. That's an actionable piece. Even if it's just once a month, start there and, highlight a coach and have that coach say, oh my God, you have to work for Training Mate because of X, Y, and Z. They, invest in your growth and development. They, took us to a baseball game, whatever it is. Have that, have an existing staff member talk about your company culture in your blog. And then you're going to start attracting like-minded talent by showcasing that story and how you push it out. I'm assuming you probably push it out, via Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn, any of the social platforms, but, have that team member sing your praises, tell everyone why they love working for your organization so much, and then push that content out.
Good. I like that one. As I asked the question, I'm happy with that answer. Thank you. Now here's a chance for you to give a bit more of a plug around Coach 360. Um, how do you help clubs and studios and even probably a trainer who's looking to employ a second or a third trainer? How can you help them bring their storytelling to life?
So with Coach 360, one of the things that we do, and right now we are US based in terms of our staffing. However, our media platform is global. So we have readers and subscribers from all over the world that read our content. In terms of being a club and studio, if you're in the US, you can contact me and I'll connect you with our team and we'll write a story about what makes your organization different. That story then appears in our club and studio spotlight. We drop a newsletter once per week, and we highlight, various different clubs and studios. And those clubs and studios are typically posting jobs in our marketplace by Coach 360 as well. So while we highlight these benefits and say why Burn Bootcamp or why Impact X Performance is so great, oh, by the way, Coach, if you're reading this, make sure you click through here because this organization's hiring in these locations. So it really kind of creates this holistic ecosystem of how the coach experiences finding a job. And for the club and studio, it's an experience where we're not going to just post their job post. We're actually going to tell people about it, 30,000 people, and we're going to tell them why they should be, considering that organization as a place to start their career.
We will put all Kathleen's details with the notes for today's podcast. But Kathleen, it's Kathleen at coach360news.com.
Yes, you have a great memory. Good job.
I did do that. I didn't even look it up. Kathleen at coach360news.com is the email to get hold of Kathleen. And the website is, Kathleen?
Coach360news.com.
Check it out. Hey, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Our next webinar is going to be next Wednesday, which is also Tuesday night in the US, Wednesday morning in Australia, where we'll be talking about gamification to enhance your retention. Don't miss it. Head to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/online events and you can register right now. You'll also see links there to the previous webinars that you might have missed, sorry, online free events that you might have missed. So please, please, please hit the share button, whatever you're watching, and share these great events, great education content from experts with your work colleagues, even your frenemies if you want. Kathleen, thank you so much. You were awesome. Consider webinar number 1 completed.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. Now, everybody, please have a great, awesome, wonderful day or evening, whatever you are heading to right now.